I'm just going to quickly mute everybody so that we can keep it quiet in here for now. And then at the end, I will open it up for Q&A so that we can go through any questions that you guys might have during this. But because I want to maximize the hour, I do want to make sure that I get through as much of this as possible. I am very, very excited to do this training with all of you. There will be some things in here that I've not actually taught yet that I'm very excited to, and I hope I nail it, to be honest. So we'll see, and hopefully you guys let me know how you feel about tonight's conversation. I do think you guys will take a ton from it, but I don't want to waste too much time getting chatty in here. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of dive in. Throughout this, though, I will ask you guys use the chat. So if you're in a place to be able to leave comments, this is going to be an interactive session. So thank you to everybody that has your cameras on. I'm happy to see you here. But I will be asking you guys some questions because the most important thing to me this evening is to maximize that you guys get value from this. Right, you chose to show up here tonight. That says a lot about you. Right, I will tell you, we had over 200 people register for this, and there's about 40 of you here now. 40 of you committed to learning something, to improving yourselves, to prioritizing yourself and putting yourself first. And so that says a lot about the type of people that you are. And I just need to congratulate you for that because it takes a lot, especially when I put on free events. I know that there's not a ton of skin in the game on your end. So it is my obligation to make sure that you guys get as much value as possible tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. But first things first, we're going to talk about how busy women and men, some of them, are ditching the fat, insecurity to find strength, mental fortitude, and achieve ultimate freedom from food. So if you guys stick around to the end, right, I try to give away the freebies early, but I couldn't help myself. So you're going to get access to our Ultimate Food Freedom Guide so that you guys can go on trips, holidays, vacations, anniversaries, celebrate birthdays, and let go of all of the stress, the overthinking of that, the overeating during those events, the self-sabotaging behavior that you embody when things feel stressful, and all of the snacks. How many times do you guys go to your parents' house and they've got M&Ms and the sweet and crunchy nuts and you just pick at it because it's out there? I promise you, you're not alone. I have totally been guilty of that too. And I've customized, I spent some time and really mapped out what it was that would make people successful in a very easy to digest way. So that will be great for you guys. And on the other side of that, something that my clients actually pay me for, but I wanted to make sure that I could help each and every one of you move the needle forward. And so I am going to drop a link at the very end where you guys can register to do a Separate to Dominate roadmap session specifically with me. We'll meet one-to-one. I'll get to know you better, specifically speak about your situation and help you construct a path to success. So that will be free of charge. You guys will just have to fill out a form so that we can get you on my schedule. But that's going to be really, really fun. And I'm excited to connect with you all here. So stick around until the end and I'll be able to drop that for you then. So I like to start with some stats. We all know COVID, it feels like it's never going away, but I don't know if any of you guys actually know this, but 32 to 60% of Americans have gained weight since the COVID shutdowns. So if this is you and you are in a position where after the COVID events that you find yourself in a position where you've gained a little bit more weight, please comment in the chat. Let me know. Did you gain weight? Did you lose weight? Are you maintaining your weight? Did it not phase you at all? I feel like it threw us all through a loop. So Tony says, I did gain weight during COVID. I appreciate your honesty, Tony. There's plenty of you guys on here. One of the expectations on this thing is that you got to chat. Sophia, thank you for sharing. You gained weight. Amanda gained weight. Yep. I lost a ton of weight. Okay, Heather. Yes. So most of you, okay. So a couple of you actually lost weight. Okay, being pregnant, totally understandable. I'm proud of you, Sandra. I'm glad that I was able to help you carry forward some good things. Carell gained weight. Amber gained weight and lost her gym routine. So you guys can see you're far from alone, right? And I share that because this is a safe space. Okay, this recording is not going anywhere. We're all going to have a chat tonight. And it's only for you guys that really showed up and made time to be a part of this. So again, I want to make sure that you know we can communicate here. Nobody here is going to judge you. If anybody says anything wonky, I'll just kick them right out. So be on your best behavior. But this is also a place for you guys to connect with some really great people. I mean, I recognize some of your faces. Some of you guys are clients. Some of you guys are past clients. Some of you guys are new to my community. And it's really important to me to protect my culture. And so I want you guys to know that anything that you guys share is never going to go anywhere outside of this. And it is a safe space for you to communicate. So thank you to everybody that commented. I really do appreciate that. But I promise you, even if you gained weight, even if you are somebody who's got 10 pounds to lose or 50 pounds to lose, it doesn't matter. You're going to be able to get started right after we finish this experience together this evening. So I like to figure out kind of where people are, because again, I want to make sure that I cater this event for you. So do you feel like, and I'm going to list a few options and I'm going to ask you guys to interact with me once again. So do you feel like, one, you've gotten out of a fitness groove and you need a kickstart to build some momentum? You just feel like you've lost your groove? Do you feel like you're struggling with making good choices? So AKA, you know what you should do, but you're not necessarily doing it. And then you go to work and then there's donuts and cookies and you have a stressful day and you're like, my friends want to go out and I'm just going to go ahead and have a couple cocktails and maybe some pizza. Or do you feel like maybe your days are so jam-packed that you just don't have, I don't have an hour, I don't have 2 hours. I can't possibly put in that amount of time to get to my goals. So I don't even know what's worth the effort anymore. I don't even know if it's possible. Or maybe it's something that you've always struggled with. Maybe your weight is something that you've always been insecure about and has prevented you from experiencing your life in many different ways. Maybe you won't go to the beach because God forbid you put on a bathing suit. Like, that is terrifying for some people. And I totally empathize with that. Maybe you don't wear the dress that's in your closet because you just don't like the way it hugs you anymore. It doesn't fit right. I understand all of those insecurities. And a lot of people tend to hermit away when they get into a space where they feel like they've totally let themselves go. Or maybe you feel like you've literally tried everything under the sun and you're just at the point where it's like, it's gotta be me. It's gotta be me. And I've heard this time and time again. So drop in the chat a 1 through 5 for me. Which one resonates most with you as to why you are here tonight and what it is that you're struggling with. So mental disconnect between actual hunger and cravings, absolutely very common. Angela says the first 2 are me right now. Weight's been a struggle the majority of my life. 1 and 2 mostly. 1 and 3, Sandra says. You need a tribe. Welcome to the tribe. You can be a part of our squad and our team and our friendships anywhere. We do have, side note, we do have a free Facebook community. If you guys are not in there, you should absolutely be. You'll be able to connect with almost everybody that's on this call. Katie, actually, if you can grab the link and just drop it in the chat for people, that would be great. 4 and 5, 2 and 4, 2 and 4, lots of 2s and 4s. Okay. Something a lot of you guys have always struggled with. Okay, well, I'm really glad to feel, at least I don't see a ton of 5s, a couple of them, but most of you guys don't feel like you're broken. And that's a really good thing. Because even if you do feel like you're broken, I promise you, you're not, right? The problem is the system that you've used didn't work for you. And I'm going to talk about this concept creep mental model tonight, which is why you guys continue to jump ship from keto to carnivore to vegan to vegetarian to juice cleanses to every other diet under the fucking sun. And we're going to cover why that's not going to work for you and how you can overcome the temptation to do that. But before we get into that, whatever your motivation is, I just want you guys to know that I support you. Okay, I know what it's like to feel like nobody cares and nobody sees you and you're just a number on somebody's roster, and that you're never going to get to where you want to be, and you don't even know the way through because you've never gone through it. So you don't even know what to ask because you don't know what questions are next. Right? I totally get that. I know that there's an ignorance tax that we all pay, and it can be entirely frustrating. No cake, no ice cream, no flour tortillas. Is that a belief that you have, Tony, or is that something that you just have come to the conclusion doesn't work for you? All right, sorry, my computer is lagging a bit. There we go. All right, so let me go backwards. The question that I really want you guys to consider is, can one decision really change your life? One decision, can it really change my life? Well, I want to say for Brittany Broughton, who came to me, she was super athletic, worked out her whole life, was eating like a small child in her 30s, in late 20s. And we got her to a place where she eats over 400 carbs, over 60 to 100 fat, actually, when we were focused on fertility purposes. And she looks amazing. Now she's pregnant, actually, which has been an entirely glorious journey that I had the privilege to be a part of. Carell, she's a fucking rock star. If you guys don't know Carell, you absolutely should. She is a light in my life. She's been through a lot of fucking shit, but she didn't quit. She made a decision and she stuck to it. And she was able to really open up to me about her struggles in her relationship with food and the things that in the battles that she had to overcome, right, in order to get to where she is. And we're still working. That's another concept that I want you guys to understand is it doesn't end, but we'll talk about that later. Katie, if you guys don't know Katie, she's probably the definition of a light in your life. And it's amazing. And it's not my story to tell. So if you guys ever do connect with her, you should absolutely ask if she's comfortable sharing. But when I met her, she was maybe obviously in an unhealthy place in her life physically, but mentally watching her transform into an entirely different person right before my eyes has been nothing less than a privilege. And it was one decision that she had to have the courage to walk up to me and ask me for help. And I cannot praise that enough, because I know how hard it is to raise your hand and say, fuck, I need help. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I need somebody to help me. And she embodies the highest level of empathy I've ever seen from any human being ever. And she's just such a light. So before I talk too much about Katie, we've had many women who have come to our program, and men, who've been able to achieve incredible transformations. And I want you guys to know that it's all entirely possible for you. So can you imagine what it would feel like to lose your first 20 pounds? And I want you guys to sit with that for a minute, right? Whatever weight loss goal you have, right? Can you picture, can you visualize what that experience would feel like? Where your confidence would be, where your level of self-respect would be, what energy that you would be able to embody, the types of outfits that you would wear, the way that you would carry yourself. Maybe like my client, Angela, I didn't share her picture. I should have, it might be later actually, but she, when I first met her, she would describe herself as a wallflower. She just never wanted to be seen. She wanted to take up no space. She didn't advocate for herself. She didn't have a voice. She just went and did the things and kind of kept her head down. And incredible story. One of my favorite things about what I do is I watch how it carries over into people's lives. Angela just quit her job because she knew she deserved to be in a better one. And before that, she would have never even looked for a different alternative, a different path, a different outcome, a different situation, a different environment that would allow her to flourish. And she had the courage to say, this is not what I'm meant for. I'm meant for more. And then she had to muster up the courage to apply. And then she had an interview. And then she went to a lunch. And she was shitting her pants when she said, holy fuck, we had a one-to-one meeting. She's like, I just got an email and they gave me an offer. And she didn't even believe that she could achieve the thing, but she didn't need to know that she could. She just had to trust herself enough to open up her mouth and say what she had to say. And her life has completely changed, and it will continue to do so because she knows internally a concept that I'm going to teach you guys in a few minutes that I will emphasize when we get there. So now that I've kind of introduced a few of our clients, a few of the people that we've worked with, I would love if you guys could take a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat. What's your name? Where are you from? And what is your biggest pain point? Why are you here? What is something that you would like to get from this conversation and what it is that's holding you back? Now, just so that you guys are familiar with my team, Katie, I've already introduced. She is our client support specialist. We do a 3-to-1 coaching platform. So every one client has 3 people on board. I can't coach everybody, but I do project manage all of our clients so I can assess where they are in their journey. And we do have connection calls with them. And Katie manages all of the client support that we have. We have Haley, who is our kind of female hormone metabolic specialist. So she is functional medicine certified. She works with all of our women who have any metabolic or hormonal dysregulations to help them improve their quality of life through a functional medicine approach. We have Coach Chelsea. She is our pre and postnatal specialist. I love moms. I will always have a soft spot for moms. I can't wait to be a mother. But nonetheless, it does change your body a bit. And you do have to overcome that a little bit more specifically. So specificity is one thing that I really wanted in my business. I didn't want just a team of well-rounded coaches. I wanted people to be able to bring things to the table so that we could all learn from one another and pair people appropriately with the specialist that would help them overcome their problems. And then Coach Nick, he's our dad bod squad. You know, Nick is Nick. He's an incredible guy for our guys, and they love him very much. So that's our team. A little bit about me. I will get to that. in just a second. So again, I want to remind you and thank you for introducing yourself, Elise, Brianna, Nicole. Feel free to even, interact with one another. Carrie, I love seeing you guys here. Amber, really nice to see you here. Jamie, she's a rock star. And we are overcoming these things one day at a time together. So I'm excited that you showed up tonight. Lynette, thank you so much for introducing yourself. Heather, it's very nice to see you. So again, reminder that stay to the very end, you're going to get a brand new food freedom guide, and you're going to get the one-to-one separate to dominate roadmap blueprint session, a one-to-one with me, usually about 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And we'll go through that. Katie will get you guys all set up to connect with me, and I'll make sure that you guys are taken care of with a customized blueprint, walking away from just showing up to this experience. But I do need to cover some expectations. So I really, really struggle with not telling the truth. And so sometimes I'm going to say things that, and Hallie's here tonight. I see you, Hallie, your eyebrows raised, right? I am not somebody that's going to lie to you, because that's not helpful. And so one expectation that I want you guys to also have set for yourself by the time that you leave this class tonight is that you will stop lying to yourselves, because that is not helping you. And again, I know that probably has a few of you going, what the fuck, Kate? But I say that because I care about you. And I say that because I wish somebody had told that to me when I was lying to myself about the things that I was doing and justifying it. And I don't want that for you. So the first thing that we need to understand is, as much as I wish I could live with all of you and do it for you and make sure that you succeeded, I cannot possibly do that, right? No one is going to do this for you. You have to do it for you because you deserve to. And I need you to really take that in. 2, we are going to achieve clarity on commitment versus interest. And I want you guys to understand this fundamentally about me. I am committed to people who are fucking committed, but I am not interested in people who are only interested, right? You have an obligation to yourself to make these changes, not just for you. Like, if I were to ask you guys, and I'm sure many of you can answer this in the chat if you want to, but how many of you guys grew up with parents who might have been overweight or unhealthy? Right? Probably a good handful of you. I would assume many of my clients do. And one of the most important things that you can do as a parent is decide to be the difference, right? Decide to lead by a better example, right? Don't wait for your children to grow up and take on your bad habits. Be the example that they learn from, right? That's so important. The outcomes that you're looking for lie in the details that you're overlooking. One thing I say to my clients all the time is that the devil's in the details. Right? We get so advanced, or we think that we know so much, and then we focus so much on emphasizing all the little things that we don't need to focus on, right? It's not about your tempo when you're just getting into the gym. It's not about how long you need to rest between sets when you don't even know what it feels like to go to failure. It's not about what carbs you eat if you're not even consistent with your macros. Right. And so these are the things that you have to understand, is that the devil is in the details. It's in the small things that you're overlooking. And I want you guys to be super familiar with that, because as we get into this, it's going to seem simple, but I guarantee 95% of you that are here aren't doing the little things. And that adds up quickly. And 4, and most importantly, is that rewiring your mindset is important, not just for your fitness goals, but to ensure that you are ready to take control of your life. Right. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's when life gets really fucking cool. And so I'm hopeful by the end of this conversation tonight that a lot of you guys start seeing yourselves, seeing your goals, seeing your journey, seeing your life from a different angle, in a way that is inspiring and empowering, and not self-deprecating and defeating. So what we're going to discover today, and I did send this out in the email, so I won't go through this whole thing, but we're going to talk about your personal success system. And I'm going to guide you through a simple series of steps that you can utilize to start moving in the right direction. We're going to talk about how you can lose the fat that you don't want to in a sustainable manner. Again, one of the things that I always say is that if you cannot do it for a decade, there's no point in doing it for a day, right? If you like to eat carbs, then trying a ketogenic diet is not going to sustain you, right? Logically, we know these things, but I would estimate that a handful of you guys have probably done that, even knowing that you like ice cream and chips, because they're great and everybody should eat that. We have to talk about mental fortitude. Okay, I'm going to talk about, again, why you continue to crash and burn, and I'm going to help you get out of that spiral of continuing to crash and burn. We have to embrace food freedom. Now, I know that that sounds scary for a lot of people that have food rules and food fears and all of these different aspects of your day-to-day lifestyles that you are terrified of stepping outside of. And I'll give you a framework now while I'm talking about this. It reminds me of a client that I worked with. Her name is Danielle. She's absolutely amazing. She's a mother of 3. She's amazing. But she had so many food fears. And when I work with people, one of the most important things that I teach them is that the only way to rewire a belief is to give yourself evidence that there is an alternative truth. And so what that means is it's a series of what therapists would call exposure therapy, right? If you fear a food to the point where you avoid it, that means the moment that you're in the presence of it, you will likely hyper focus on it, amplify the problem, and then self-sabotage until it's gone. And I don't want that for you. And so we have to build a good relationship with the things that you fear. And then we need to find a way to manage the dichotomy between your work, your family, your personal buckets, your wealth buckets, your career buckets, and your fitness. And I use the word balancing here, but just think about it like a seesaw or a teeter-totter. You cannot have one excel without the other one diminishing. It doesn't work like that. So I just want to set expectations around balance. I don't mean equal energy. I mean a distribution that is comfortable for you. And for everybody, that is a bit different. So who is this for? Women who are ready to lose the fat sustainably without sacrificing their career or family time. Okay. I like fitness, but fitness has got to fit. Anybody who's committed to achieving unshakable levels of confidence, finding food freedom, and who wants to love the skin that you're in 365 days a year. Not just during the summer, not just when you aggressively diet, right? Not just after the 6-week shred down challenge and the detox tea, whatever, right? Every day. I want you to wake up and love who you are and the way that you look every single day of your life for the rest of your life. That is my goal. I promise you, it doesn't matter if you have 5, 10, 20, 50 pounds to lose. This is going to help you. And for people that are looking for fad diets, surface level solutions, or quick fixes, that is not my style. Okay, that's not what we're going to cover here. I'm not going to give you some like surface level solution, rapid fat loss diet, quick detox tea, use my discount code shit. That's not going to help you. Okay, this is the real shit that I need you guys to understand, that you to understand. So why can I help you? I talked a little bit about my team. I'm going to give you guys some background on me. Just so if you're not familiar with me, you can get to know me and like why the hell you should ever listen to anything that I ever have to say. So my undergrad is in biology with a concentration in pharmaceuticals. So I did look at specifically how pharmaceutical medication impacts our own physiology, and if indeed that is a good thing and when it is warranted. I played Division I basketball in college. That is what really got me into athletic performance. I studied nutritional sciences when I was in my undergrad as well, because I wanted to be the best athlete that I possibly could. I then went on and got my master's at USF, and I worked directly with Dr. Bill Campbell at the Performance and Physique Enhancement Lab. I have right now that are open to the public for different research practices that I went through that have been published on some of the groundbreaking research that you guys see all over Instagram now. I actually got to work in the lab and do those things and study them up front. So that was very cool. I did compete at a national level in bodybuilding for a period of time. I lost my health through that pursuit. So I did eventually get my functional medicine certification so that I could fix myself. And it's also enabled me to help other women who have struggled with metabolic and hormonal issues. I am now going back to school for my second master's in clinical psychology. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you know I'm mostly known for mindset stuff. And that is something that I'm super passionate about. And I've coached over 1,000 people in my career. So again, back to my team, you guys can see all that stuff. But what's really important is, again, the stuff that you don't pay attention to. It's the beliefs that you have. It's the destructive habits that you engage with. It's the food rules and your fears in this all or nothing mindset. And this is what's going to prevent you from long-term success. In order to have different, you need to be different and do different and become different to achieve different, right? So that's what I'm hoping to give you clarity on today. But I also think it's really important to acknowledge the people that have helped me along the way, the people that I've learned from. Some of these people you might be familiar with. Dr. Campbell's there on the left. He was my mentor, as well as Dr. Buckner, who's second in from the right. Both of their labs that I worked in, both of them I did research under, and they are both amazing and incredible and highly intelligent human beings. Dr. Lane Norton also came to USF quite frequently. I worked well with him. He's very intelligent, super sharp, does a lot for the industry, likes to call it the bullshit stuff. So I appreciate him and all that he's done. Jordan Syatt was one of my best friends, I'm grateful to say, but he helped me along the way, really believed in me before I ever believed in myself. And someone I could not give enough thank you for. Dr. Andy Galpin, if you guys don't know from who he is, he's actually from California, and he studies a lot around athletic performance and elite performance. So he has an entire lab that actually trains people in. They study all of their signaling and data, metabolic feedback. So he's really interesting, very smart guy, very funny, good to work with. Andrew Coates, if you guys don't know Andrew, he's someone that I actually met in person on my birthday at the summit that I spoke at. He's been such a hands-on just supporter for me in the aftermath of meeting me. And I thought it's just nice when you have people that you look up to start to look up to you differently, which is interesting, but amazing guy, wealth of knowledge. Sam Miller, if you guys don't know Sam, he runs FNMS. He is the biggest nerd and highly educated in all the things around functional medicine. So these are people that I've been able to learn from and where I got a lot of my wisdom from. So I think it's important to give them credit where it's due, because the things that I've been able to teach myself, the things that I teach my team, and the things that I'm able to educate my clients on are all things that I've learned from all of these incredible people. So let's talk about Strong Fit Free, right? This is the program that we now run, and I think it's important to share kind of how I got there. How did this come to fruition? So I have three major pillars that I think are super important. The first one being that you must be physically strong so that you are not attacked by others. That one comes, and I won't get too deep into the weeds. I'm fine, obviously, but I did go through a very, very abusive relationship for a period of my life, to the point where I ended up in the hospital. And in hindsight of that, the most empowering thing I've ever done is focused on getting strong, because I wanted to be able to know that I could defend myself if ever I was ever in a situation where I needed to be able to do that. And I want women to feel empowered and strong and be able to defend themselves. I think that is so important from a female's perspective, and something I'm entirely passionate about. So I like teaching women to get strong and be strong for that purpose, as well as the fact that it takes a strong woman to lead a family and to be really running after her goals against the world. Secondly, you must be mentally fit so you are not attacked by yourself. How many of you guys have the worst shitty committee between your ears? Why did you think you could do this? You can't do that. Why are you going down that path? You can't make it. Oh, you had a bad day. It's fine. Just go grab the cookie. You deserve one. Right? How many of you guys have that voice in your head that shits on you harder than anybody else could ever shit on you? It's like anything that anybody else says doesn't matter at all, because they don't know the little demon that lives between your ears. Right? You have to be able to overcome that. One thing I say a lot is you have to be able to beat the boss. Right? You are the boss, and you will be your own demise. You have to decide if you're the hero or the villain of your own story. Super important. And lastly, like, I want you guys to have freedom from the expectations that culture puts on you, that society puts on you, to look a certain way, to walk a certain way, to wear makeup a certain way, to dress a certain way, to fit into some mold that maybe wasn't built for you. That's also cool. But I don't want you to live confined and constrained and insecure and stressed that you don't look a certain way, or you're not your best. Right? So this is why I built the program the way that I did. And that's why it means so much to me. But super important question. Do you guys brush your teeth, right? Do you struggle with the concept of consistency? So let me ask you guys a question. Let me know. Do you brush your teeth? If you brush your teeth every single day, I want you to drop a 1 in the chat. And if you don't brush it every day, at least tell me that you guys brush it weekly. Okay, so it looks like everybody brushes their teeth every single day. Okay, cool. So let me ask you this question. If you missed a day of brushing your teeth, would you just say fuck it and start over on Monday? Would you be like, it's Wednesday. Fuck, I forgot to brush my teeth. It's fine. I'll pick back up on Monday. Right? Nobody would do that. Right. You would literally go brush your teeth if you missed that morning for whatever reason. And then you would definitely wake up tomorrow and brush your fucking teeth. Okay. So we've established two things here in this one moment with this one question. One, you can be consistent. And two, you've got some standards. So let's talk about your standards. You already have certain standards in other areas of your life. Okay. So now we need to define your standards for your health and fitness. And then we need to stick to those standards. Okay. You cannot be interested in this if you're going to be successful. You need to be committed to this. So I'll give you an example. And just so you know, a lot of you guys are in a position that you don't like where you are and you don't like the way that you feel because you stopped respecting yourself a long time ago. And the problem with that is once you start tolerating your own disrespect, you start accepting it from other people. You have friends that are rude that you don't really like being around. Your boss is a dick, but you still put on a happy face anyways. Your husband can be an entirely prick and you put up with it, right? You have friends that nag you about everything, right? You stopped respecting yourself a long time ago. And my hope for you is that you will start prioritizing yourself and setting some boundaries and having higher levels of self-respect after this conversation, because I want you to win. Like, I genuinely want you all to fucking win because you can. So I'm going to give you an example of a system that I think is very easy for people to follow, that I would encourage you guys to think about and map out for yourself. So it's a 3-5-1 system. This is going to allow you to get there and start building success in a very simple manner. Okay, so one thing I tell my clients from the very beginning is we have to set our non-negotiables, right? So that could be, for example, if we have 3 of them, and I don't want more than 3. More than 3 is a lot more to focus on. It can cause you more stress, so then you don't hit 3 at all. Okay, so we're going to stick to 3 here. I'll give you an example. It could be your macronutrient targets, it could be your water, and it could be your steps. It doesn't have to be everything. I just want you to pick 3, okay? We're going to have 5 days of planned meals at least, right? This is, again, a minimum. If you exceed that, that's like the cherry on top, like amazing. That gives it a little hue of taste, right? A little flavor bomb. But outside of that, it's not entirely necessary, but we need to build the habit and we need to have a system. So 5 days of planned meals and 1 accountability system. Now, I'm a coach, so I'm just going to say, you guys can always talk to me, but maybe it's a friend, maybe it's your sister, right? Maybe it's a cousin, maybe it's a coworker, right? Have somebody, something to hold you accountable, because if you are not being held accountable, left to our own devices, we will self-destruct. That's not a you thing. That's a human thing. Okay. You're not broken. Nothing is wrong with you. But if you want to succeed, you have to have something or somebody that can enforce you showing up to do the things that you said you were going to do. So now I want to know, what are your minimum standards and what is one area of your life that you can commit to raising your standards? Hallie, no worries at all. Thank you for being here. I love you. A lot of rude people, and I learned to affect me. I think you mean that it affected you. Tony is what I'm assuming. But I want you guys to seriously be intentional. Like, what are minimum standards that you have? Do you have any? What's one? You don't have to name all of them, but what is one? Can you commit to setting a standard for yourself right now? What is something that you know that you need to be doing that you're not actually doing? Exercise, that's great. Having boundaries with people at work, amazing. Stop being a people pleaser. Have a bad habit of trying to make everybody else happy. I put others first. Consistent exercise, that's amazing. Getting your steps in. Getting your protein in. Stop the food self-sabotage. Be gentle with myself. Get my water in. Live for, these are amazing. Consistency, right? The devil's in the details. Personal boundaries. Gallon of water. Stop trying to make everybody happy. Gosh, I should do my next masterclass on my people pleaser. So if you guys want to see that, let me know. I could definitely riff on that. But what I want you to know in this moment right now is it's not too late and still totally possible to get in amazing shape and create a legacy of health and fitness for yourself and generations to come. Remember, if you grew up under a lineage of people that didn't take their health seriously, that didn't exercise, that didn't care about what they ate, and you ended up in a predicament to have the same relationship and engagement with food because that's what you watched, right? You now have a decision to make if you want to walk the same path or if you want to go a different direction, and not just for you right now, but for your future family and people to come, right? And that's a decision that you have to make. But I would encourage you to truly, truly consider that. So now we're going to get into some myth busting, because I think this is necessary for some of you guys that have different beliefs around all these things, right? So I dropped a few things at the beginning of this, asking questions. around what it was that brought you here. And one of the things we talked about is time. So the first myth that I want to break through right now is that getting into great shape takes a lot of time. The truth, you could get a great workout in 15 fucking minutes. Or if you're somebody that likes to train in more of a tempo hypertrophy style, you can do it in 60, right? But it's not going to take you much more than that. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that, right? A way that we can do this is through high intensity interval training. A lot of people will demonize HIIT. HIIT is not bad. It's not going to cause so much inflammation and cortisol that you just die and can't lose any fat, right? The danger is in the dose. And when people start fear mongering on the internet, I just want you to remember that one thing that Kate said that one time I went to her masterclass and I was kind of listening. The danger is in the dose for everything. When people yell about sugar, people talk about oils, people talk about anything. The danger and the toxicity is in the dose. And if you actually read the literature and you look at the research of these things, the way that they're testing it to see any type of evidence as to a negative outcome is like 1,000 times more than what we as humans consume. Or it's in an entity that's not even human. So you need to be an intelligent consumer of some of the claims that people make on the internet, because I don't want you guys to start freaking out thinking that you're doing something wrong. Number 2, full body workouts that incorporate multiple muscle groups. I really like full body training, especially if you're doing a 3-day-a-week program, right? So that's going to allow you to work larger muscle groups. The recovery is going to be easier so that you can hit multiple of the same muscle group per week, but not have debilitating training sessions to where you're chronically sore and it's hard to get back into the groove of things. So especially if you're getting right back into it, maybe you've had some time off, I highly recommend doing kind of a 3-day full body split. That will be amazing for you to start. And then remember that you can always manipulate variables, but the most important things that you want to pay attention to is intensity. And I mean intensity of effort, not intensity referring to load, though as you get better with intensity of effort, the amount of weight that you use will increase. Volume, so everybody has a maximum recoverable volume. Really, very, very, very important to start off with minimal volume, especially if you're detrained. Okay, we can't overshoot to try. If you guys tried to run a workout program that I do, and I've been doing this for 30 years almost, right? That's going to be a way different adaptive response than it is for me at this point. So you have to meet yourself where you're at, and then you can always manipulate frequency, meaning how many days a week you're training these things, the total volume, and then intensity. But intensity of effort needs to be the one thing that you commit to no matter how long your training sessions are. And I promise you, if you only have 15 minutes to do anything, that 15 minutes is better than doing absolutely nothing. So here's an example of one that you could do, because I wanted to give you guys some stuff to take home. So you could do, I have a rule of 100 for a lot of things, but if you wanted to do hundreds in general as a workout kind of model, you're going to do 10 rounds, 10 push-ups, 10 air squats, 10 crunches, and you're going to set a timer to 10 minutes to try to beat 20 minutes max to get this workout in. So you could get a great workout in that is functional. But again, remember, it's not just about building muscle and getting bigger. I hope that you guys want to be able to wipe your ass when you're 80 years old. So you need to be functional. Okay. You need to move your body in functional planes, right? Squatting down, standing up, being able to push your weight or pull your weight, right? Being able to have core stability and strength. You don't want lower lumbar issues when you're older. So these are all things to think about, the why we might feel we're superhuman and invincible. That's not necessarily the case. So here's an example of my girl, Shirley. She travels constantly for work. She has no time. I mean, if I've ever seen somebody's schedule who has no time, I don't think I have time, but she certainly doesn't have a ton of free time. And she used to spend hours and hours and hours in the gym and eat like a child. Like I hate to say that most women get into this groove of like 1,200 to 1,000 calories, but most women get there just to try to lose weight. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to use extreme measures. And now she looks her best. She travels all the time. She eats intuitively. She'll track when she's home, but she knows how to eat when she's on the road. She's never felt more confident in herself. I wish I had a video to show you, but she's not here, so I can't call on her. But truly, it's been incredible to watch her. And this is the least amount of effort as far as total output that she's ever put into actually trying to lose weight. And she looks the best she's ever looked and has the best relationship with food and exercise that she's ever had. And so I share this with you because if you're where she was, there is a better way. Myth number 2, to lose weight, your diet has to be super rigid and boring, right? Like you can't even eat that delicious plate of crepes because you're going to not make it. But the truth is, right, the all or nothing mindset is what's holding you back, right? There are no good and bad foods. Food does not have an agenda, but you do. And it's your relationship. with that food item that you're thinking of right now as I'm talking about food that you need to examine and we need to work on. Because I promise you, if I could snap my fingers and all of your fat was gone, you would not keep it off because your relationship with food has not improved. And if you do not address that first, you will not get to where you want to be and be able to keep it. And if you're going to play the game, we got to play it for keeps. So how do we go about this? Well, one, we eat balanced meals. We don't demonize any macro because, again, food doesn't have an agenda. It's just food. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're getting plenty of protein, right? Anywhere from 0.8 to 1 gram per pound or ideal pound of body weight. Either one of those is going to be fine as far as a loose metric for you to use. Remember, again, the dangers in the dose, eat them in the right portions. Now, I can't give you guys kind of blanket statement portions because each of you are going to be very different in that and what your body needs and what it responds to. But ideally, you don't demonize any of them and you try to eat a little bit of each of those ingredients or each of those macronutrients in all of your meals. That will A, balance your blood sugar, B, keep you satiated, and C, support the body composition that you desire, so long as it's in the right portion. And without your hormones operating optimally, which means, yes, micronutrients that you get from carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables, what is the word I'm looking for? Cholesterol that you get from dietary fat, right? All those things are precursors to hormones. And so if your hormones are out of whack, I know a lot of people think it's just, oh, it's age or it's something else. Like it's probably your lifestyle. It's probably the quality of your nutrients. And I guarantee if you enhance that stuff, the metabolic stuff improves too. So just think about your lifestyle if you're struggling with some of those things and you want to be able to burn fat. You're never going to be able to do it the way that you want to and the way that your body should if your hormones are completely shit. So things to pay attention to is make sure you're eating a variety of foods. A simple way to think about that is eat the rainbow. Don't demonize certain types of foods, right? Focus on if it's farm to table, you're doing a great job. But if you eat ice cream, sometimes that's totally fine too. Like there is nothing bad. And I really want you guys to take that home. Are there better choices? Sure. Maybe for the principle of the food itself. But food is also an experience in a social gathering for a lot of people. And so demonizing that is not the problem. It's just how you approach it when you're in the moment that we need to review. So Katie, one of my favorite people to talk about, right? She was a foodie and she still is a foodie. It's so funny. It's funny. I'll let her tell the stories though. So she went through, before she reached out to me, she was in a lifestyle intervention program that was 100% keto. I mean, like butter. She shared some really weird recipes with me. But nonetheless, right, she did this and she actually saw progress, which made the fallout worse. Because not only in the aftermath did she gain the weight back and go back to a series of uncomfort and discomfort and insecurity, but she also manifested a horrible relationship with carbohydrates. I mean, she was terrified when we first spoke of ever the thought of eating any carb, sometimes blueberries, but that was about it. And it took a long time for us to be able to shift that perspective and shift her mindset and give her evidence. Remember, in order to rewire a belief that we have to have evidence that there's an alternative truth. And that's what we did. And now she's down 85 pounds. She's a carb queen herself. No food rules and absolute freedom. And I think that everybody deserves to feel that. And her testimony is so, so important because I know so many women who struggle just like she did. So let's go to myth number 3, which is you can do it alone. Remember back to the accountability thing that I just talked about. I think you guys have probably heard this quote before, but you're closest to the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? You will be most like them. So one thing you need to audit outside of your fitness shit is who do you spend the most time around? And do you want to be like them? Because whether or not you do is not something that you're conscious of, as far as you didn't choose them maybe because you did, but I'm telling you, they're impacting you, whether or not you like it. So when you have accountability, a coach or supportive community, you're likely to stay on track, get support and guidance. Remember that regardless of the pursuit that we go down, if you've no idea what you're doing, you're paying an ignorance tax. And that ignorance tax is also going to cost you time. It's going to cost you energy. It's going to cost you mental midget moments. It's going to cost you frustration. It's going to cost you not knowing. And in order to know, you're going to fuck up a lot. Trust me, I do what I do because I don't want people to struggle the way that I did. And it will keep you motivated, especially when you're in a group of people that are ambitious and driven and committed to their goals. It will incentivize you to be like them. Right? So it's super important to pay attention to who you spend the most time with. On average, people lose an average of 8 pounds when in a group compared to 1.8 when they do it alone over the same time period, right? I thought that was amazing. And that really shows the difference that you will achieve by doing it together versus doing it on your own. And over time, people in groups kept the weight off while those who were solo gained it back at least half the weight, right? So imagine you lose 5 pounds on your own and then you gain 2.5 back. You're going to feel like you didn't make any progress. Let's say it took you 12 weeks to do that and you gained it back in 2. That's disappointing, right? It's important to consider these things because time is the most important variable that you guys have. Time. Okay. You're never, this is the youngest you're ever going to be, by the way, right now, all of us. So it's important to consider how much time do you want to spend spinning your wheels, being frustrated, fighting the insecurity that you have every fucking day of your life. How much longer do you want that to go on? How much of a tax are you willing to pay? Things to consider. So before you guys got here, now that we've done a few myth busting things, which of these were you holding on to a little bit before we started this conversation? Drop a 1 or 2 or 3 for me in the chat if you could. Emily says 1, Nicole says 3. I like that. 1 and 3, 2, 3 and 2, 1 and 2, 3. Yes. A half, Courtney. 1, 2. Weight loss fluctuations. It can lose or gain. I used to count calories. My brother not actually help, but then we both hit a plateau. Very common, very, very common. And if we have time for Q&A, I know that I need to speed this up. So I appreciate you guys in the chat. I'm going to try to pick up the pace a little bit. So now we have some options. Okay. You can either keep yo-yo dieting, see no progress, continue to be fucking frustrated, or you can win. You can follow a proven roadmap, you can get accountability and support, and you can rewire your mindset to win. Have you guys seen the movie, The Matrix? What do you choose? Right? Are you going to blue pill yourself? Or are you going to red pill yourself? And if you don't know, here's the guide, just in case you don't know which one of them stand for. Right? So red means embracing that sometimes the truth is painful. Reality hurts. Right? Again, that's why I tried to leave with, I'm not going to lie to you today. I just can't do it. I want you to win. Or you can remain in the bliss and follow all the marketing things and spend more money on supplements and bullshit guru stuff. I love my red pill people. Let's go, Carell. Okay, Dina. I love this. I like that you guys did that. So I didn't even have to ask you and you guys were in it. So Angela, red all the way. Let's go. Rojo. Awesome. So this is a framework that I'm going to try to break down to the best of my capabilities. But this will explain why you guys do the things that you do and why I need you and you need you to totally stop. So this is how it typically goes. You have somebody that tells you that they are doing this new thing and they're like, oh my God, I'm seeing so many results. You should totally try it. And you don't actually know all that it entails, right? So here we have slightly informed optimism, right? You kind of know what you think you know because that's what they told you. But then you get to the point where you sign up and you're doing the thing like, oh my God, she's doing this. She's lost 15 pounds. I'm going to do it too. And then you start doing the program. And unfortunately, you see that there's like 100 other things that were associated that your friend didn't actually mention to you. And so then you get really frustrated and you're like, I cannot possibly do this. So then time goes on and you aren't seeing results yet. So it's getting to the point where this is like unbearable for you. You're like, I'm putting in so much work. I go to the gym, I eat my foods like I'm supposed to, and I'm not losing the weight that I want to lose. So you give up and you hit what I like to call the crash and burn, right? So you jump to another program, again, with uninformed optimism, once again, and you keep fighting the same boss, right? You keep fighting the thing that is preventing you from getting you there, right? And the boss is the thing that you don't want to acknowledge, which is if you can go from this point and you can say, okay, now I understand, I have the information to make a good decision, to continue to move forward, because now I have all the information, the good stuff and the bad stuff that is involved with me achieving this thing, right? And we have to get you to informed optimism to be able to find what works, right? You have to be informed about your ability to progress entirely in a situation. And you cannot do the same loop-de-loop where you crash and burn and you go back to uninformed optimism to being informed and then informed pessimistically to where you get frustrated because you've hit a plateau, or it's not working, or it's not hard enough, or it's too easy, or it's not easy enough, it's too complicated. Whatever your excuse or belief might be around the entity, the fact of the matter is you just didn't understand it. And the fact that you didn't understand it is what led to your frustration and disappointment, because you expected it to be easier than it actually was. And I'm going to promise you right now that getting fit and losing fat is not a complicated thing. But just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's easy. And I think it's so important that you guys remember that stuff, because if you can stick with this long enough, you get to the achieved goal. If you can skip this part where you crash and burn, and then you jump to another program, or you jump to another solution, or you jump on another challenge, or you jump on the next thing, whatever the next trend is, if you can stop doing that and just say, okay, well, this is harder than I thought, and it might require a little bit more effort than I anticipated, but I'm capable of doing this, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to fight to the next point. And then you learn. And with that knowledge, you can then carry it forward. And guess what? You'll move forward, and then you'll make a mistake, but you'll learn from it again. And the faster that you can get through this point, the faster that you can overcome this thing is the faster that you're going to win. Because I promise you one thing, the grass is not greener on the other side. It's still lined with shit. It doesn't matter what program you try to seek out. If you want to lose the weight, it's going to require effort and sacrifice on your side. Now, that's not sexy for me to say. I know that, but it is fundamentally true. It doesn't matter where you go. It's all shit. And that's the game. So the way that we do things is a little bit different. And I'm going to give you an outline here, and then I'll build something more comprehensive on the other side of this. But the first thing that we have to do is acknowledge where you are. Right. And the most important thing when you guys do this is don't lead with judgment. You just need to be curious. How did I get here? What are the habits that I'm carrying that don't align with where I want to go? What are the destructive things that I do? How do I cope with stress? Do I even have any systems? Am I setting myself up for success, or do I lie to myself saying that I'm going to start tomorrow and I never fucking do? Remember what I said at the beginning? You have to stop lying to yourself, because it's not helping. Now, you don't have to judge yourself to where you self-destruct because you don't like what you're doing, but you do have to acknowledge that you are the thing you have to beat. You. Okay? Once we figure this out, we have to then build a system. And again, I'm going to do this with you guys. I will drop the link, or I'll have Katie drop it at the end of this call, so that we can focus on the foundation, right? If you guys were having your dream home built, would you want the construction company to cut corners and do it kind of loose just so that you could rush to move into it? Or would you want them to take their time and make sure they constructed it exactly as you imagined it to be, with no error? That is how I need you to look at your weight loss in your fitness goals, because the end point is not the weight loss, right? I was telling this to a client the other day. We get so hyper focused on the end. I just need to lose 20 pounds. That's it. I just need to suffer for 20 pounds. That's it. That's not it. That's not it. Fitness is a relationship. Exercise, a relationship. Once you start, you're going to have to keep doing it. So you want to find fitness that fits, right? You need to find sustainability in that lifestyle, in that relationship. It doesn't need to be toxic where it's hot and cold and you get a little bit fiery sometimes with it, but then you burn out and you never want to see him again. It's like a bad boyfriend that you keep breaking up with and getting back together. It's terrible. Stop doing it. Okay. We need to focus on systems that fit your lifestyle, that fit your time constraints, that fit your commitments, and that fit you, right? Your training needs to be building a body that you're proud of. It doesn't matter what my preference is. It matters what yours is. I want you to feel like your own Catwoman, right? I want you to be a bad bitch. I do. And I love that for you, but you have to be intentional about how we do it, right? Training with intention. Remember, it's about intensity. Don't just go through the motions. Remember that the game is won and lost between your ears. You are either your own hero or your own villain. And freedom comes when you know the success leaves clues. Okay, that's why I know the systems and the blueprints that we use work. There are clues. And if you can follow the clues close enough, you're going to win. Right, so how do we go from mediocre to unstoppable, right? How do we get there? How do we get from A to Z? What's the map, okay? So first, we need to talk about initiation. Separate to dominate. That's how we always start calls. And again, each of you are going to get these. So now you need to know what's going to happen from there. And I will give each of you these steps on our call together. So I need you to pay attention so you know to come prepared for our conversation, right? First, we need to look at core habits. One thing I tell everybody all the time is that you can do anything. And I genuinely believe that each of you can do anything that you want to do, but you cannot do everything all at once. And so maybe you have a few different problems. Maybe you're really stressed and your stress management is terrible and you don't sleep well. And when you're highly stressed and you haven't slept, you tend to overeat and emotionally eat because you don't know how to set boundaries or communicate. That's a lot of problems. Okay. And I promise you that is not like, you're not broken. That happens all the time with people, by the way. So we have to focus on what is the major thorn in your side. What is causing you the most pain? In fact, some of the symptoms that you have on the other side, as far as like emotionally eating or being reactive, right? That comes from your inability to get to the root, which is, well, you might not feel confident enough opening your mouth and saying no to my people pleasers, who you're spread thin and you're stretched and you have no time and you're ripping your hair out and you yell at your husband and you react to your children because you took on so much shit with work because once upon a time somebody told you that your career was the most important thing that you would ever pursue in your life, and you believed it. Right? So maybe it's setting boundaries, and maybe it's just giving yourself permission to say what you need to say. Maybe that's your problem. Again, I don't know. I work with a lot of different people and a lot of them have different problems. Right? But oftentimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. And I'll get to that on a different training, but I think that concept is important. Okay, so now we need to get into our specialization of your training. Again, building a body that you are proud of, right? I know everything about programming that I need to know, and I can teach you that. But the most important thing is focusing on, we want to be toned and not bulky. Okay, it's very difficult to get bulky, by the way, but there's nothing magical about toning workouts. And I threw that in here on purpose. Right? You need to train, and you need to train with intention, and you need to train hard. Because at the end of the day, if you're ever facing a situation where you have to defend yourself, you're going to wish you did. And I want you to be strong. And I promise you, I've been trying to get bulky for like over a decade, and it's not happened yet. So if ever there's something that unleashes where women get bulky because they lift heavy, I will be the first to know, and I will make sure I tell you guys about it. But we need to make sure that you customize it to what you have access to. So if you know you're not going to get a gym membership, if you know you're not going to go to the gym, and your excuse is, I'll start Monday because I'm going to go to the gym, get a membership, you don't have to do all that. Order a pair of dumbbells, get a jump rope, get some bands, and let's get to work. Okay, you don't have to have all the magical equipment in the world to do something. You just need to set yourself up with something to do. Now, fat burning fuel systems, we talked a lot about the proper portions of your food, but it's really important to make sure that you guys have an awareness and understanding of nutrition, right? We talk about macros, and I'm sure a majority of you guys track, and that's great. You're learning. But remember, codependency is not healthy. And we see this all the time when people track their fucking macros, and they cannot even trust themselves to build a meal without weighing it and tracking it to make sure that nothing's wrong. That is not a healthy relationship. Tracking is a tool. It is not a crutch. And we need to make sure that we're using these tools appropriately so that you don't drive up a psychological issue in your relationship with trusting yourself to know when you're hungry and when you should eat and when you're full and what to have and how much you can have. These are too many things that you shouldn't be spending your time and your energy thinking about. So we need to teach you how to construct meals and eat food that make you feel fantastic and also continue to allow you to have the body that you desire. 365 days a year, right? That is my mission. I want all of you to find love and confidence in the way that you look every single day for the rest of your life. Weighing food was not fun, and you could go over. Yeah, there's a lot in there, Tony. But yeah, so it's important to have customization for your own goals. And also, one thing I got to study in my research there was looking at different adaptation systems and fuel systems. And what's very interesting is different types of people run more efficiently on different types of macronutrients. Now you can train your body to be adaptive, right? Fat adaptive or carb adaptive. So it's not like you're fixed to that. But what I do find is that once I understand somebody's body, they tend to run better on certain substrates than others. And when you get that right, it actually makes the fat loss process a lot easier. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. But the most important thing, and this is why I put it as number 5, mostly because I like to save the most important things for last, but you have to remember that the battle is you versus you. You have to beat the boss. You have to know that every single day you're going to wake up and you're going to aim to accomplish these things. How many of you guys start off the day and you win breakfast and you go to work and you feel great and then some shit happens and then it's thing after thing after thing after thing, and on the way home you drive to McDonald's because you didn't feel like cooking dinner, so you just had to order out or Uber Eats it or whatever you did. You have to beat you. You have to know that these things are going to happen because they're a part of the human experience. And unfortunately, if every day could be sunshine and rainbows, I would love for it to be, but that's not how it works. And so if you can accept that there are going to be days when it fucking sucks, everything's going terribly, you still have an obligation to take care of you because you are the only person that is responsible for taking care of you. And you need to treat yourself that way. So this is the last question that I have, and then we'll get into some Q&A, and I'll drop the link for you guys that stayed. So I appreciate this, and I'm trying to not take up too much of your time. I know it's late for a lot of you. You have a big and very important decision to make. And again, I told you, and I mean this, you guys need to commit for you. You need to commit to you for you. You commit yourself to everybody else and all of their demands and all of their needs and all of their wants and all of their desires. And you overextend yourself for every other person on this planet but yourself. You can't even give yourself permission to have 5 minutes. You feel awful about it. You feel like you're a bad mom if you want to work out for 30 minutes. No, you're not. You're setting a good example. You have to put yourself first in order to give to people as the best version of you. Right? You don't need to be a martyr for this. And you cannot be the best representation of who you are for the people that you care about if you don't start putting yourself at the top of your list. And that doesn't mean everything all the time. You don't need to be super like self-absorbed, but you do need to create space. So I gave away the answer. This was not supposed to show up already, but I define self-love in a way that is holding yourself to a higher standard than anybody else ever does. It's doing the things that you said that you would do and forcing yourself to do it regardless of how you feel, because nobody else in this room, nobody else in this world cares if you win. I hate to break the truth to you, but genuinely, nobody cares. No one cares about your dreams. No one cares about your insecurity. Nobody cares about your wants. Nobody cares about the fact that you can barely breathe and that you're burning from both ends. Nobody cares. I do care. That's why I'm doing this for free, obviously. But at the end of the day, if you're waiting for somebody to save you, they're not going to. If you want to accomplish things, you need to take off the glass ceiling that you've put on yourself, because that is not you aiming for anything or lifting yourself up. That is an arbitrary line that you've at one point said, this is fine. This is good enough. I'll settle for here. I don't know how people can use the frame of self-love by trying to convince you that you should cheer yourself on, knowing that you aren't everything that you could be. I don't know how anybody can say that they love themselves when you put a cap on your own potential. And by the way, for those of you guys that feel like I don't deserve success, you have this self-deprecating idea that you're just not good enough and you're not worthy of it. Guess what? You don't have to deserve success to get it. Okay, I know that sounds bad, but it's true. You don't even have to feel like you deserve it. If that's something that you struggle with, cool. Don't feel like you deserve it and do the things that will get you to be successful anyways. You don't have to feel worthy of success to get it. It happens if you just do the thing. And so I want you guys to get here and do the thing. So with that understanding, and just write a yes or no. Based on that definition, would you say that you love yourself? Or would you say that you are the cause of your own suffering? Self-love is giving myself a hug and holding myself to the highest standards I did once upon a time before burnout. You're the cause. You're the cause. You know, I love myself. Both. Fair enough. Definitely love myself. Love that. Cause, a mixture. I would say yes. Break my own heart every day. Mix. Definitely love myself. Amazing. And just so you guys know, I don't mean that in a way that should ever make any of you feel embarrassed, because I've made that excuse in my own head. I've told myself, why can't this be enough? Why can't you just settle? Are you ever going to get comfortable? And what I want you guys to understand is that is not how humans are made. We are not designed to be complacent. Look at the progress of our entire society over the last 100 years. I think 50 years ago, the people that were here 1,000 years ago would have said that's good enough. But we're not designed that way. And technology will continue to build, and AI will continue to build, and cities and things will always continue to expand, because that's how we're wired for progress. So stop trying to deny the biology that you were created of. You're meant for more, and you know it, and that's also okay, because so is everybody else that's here. But at one point along the way, you decided to settle for being mediocre, and I don't want that for you. So now we have a choice. Where do you want to go from here? Because it's up to you. This is your opportunity to commit to love yourself at the absolute highest of standards.